The most hyped technology in electric cars might be solving a problem that doesn't exist. Automakers are racing to build a 1,000-kilometer EV, but what if I told you the average driver only needs this much range per day? This is the promise of solid-state batteries, the holy grail: more energy, more safety, more range. The headlines say they've cracked it. Toyota, BMW, Mercedes, all claiming a future where you can drive from Paris to Berlin on a single charge. But behind the press releases and the carefully controlled tests is a different story. A story of physics, economics, and critical trade-offs they aren't telling you. This isn't just about technical hurdles, it's about a fundamental myth. So if these companies can build a 1,000-kilometer EV, why shouldn't they? The answer reveals the real revolution solid-state batteries will bring, and it's not what you think. Range anxiety. It's the ghost that haunts the electric vehicle revolution. And for years, the solution has seemed simple. Just build a battery that goes further. The 1,000-kilometer, or 620-mile EV has become the ultimate benchmark, a symbol of technological dominance. And the technology supposedly getting us there, solid-state batteries. But the race to 1,000 kilometers is hiding a much more important story. Today, we're separating the hype from reality. First, let's look at the claims. It's a global showdown. In Germany, Mercedes-Benz is testing an EQS prototype with solid-state cells from Factorial Energy. Their target? Over 1,000 kilometers. The catch? It's a highly controlled, one-of-a-kind prototype. There's no production date, and the range is an unverified claim. Their rival, BMW, is working with a company called Solid Power. They're more cautious, targeting near 1,000 kilometers, but they openly state mass production is a post-2030 goal. Not exactly just around the corner. Over in Japan, Toyota announced a breakthrough, a solid-state cell that could power a 1,000-kilometer car. But this was a single cell in a lab, not a full battery pack in a vehicle. And their own target for a limited rollout isn't until 2027, at the earliest. And then there's NIO, who actually did it. Their ET7 sedan drove a documented 1,070 kilometers. Case closed, right? Not quite. They used a massive 150 kilowatt-hour semi-solid battery, a hybrid technology that's incredibly heavy and so expensive it's only available as a high-cost rental. It's a brute force solution, not an elegant, scalable one. So while the headlines are impressive, the reality is a story of asterisks and distant timelines. But the real problem isn't when they'll get there. Seriously, it's the physics of what it takes to get there. Your standard EV battery has three key parts: two electrodes, an anode and a cathode, and a liquid electrolyte in between that lets energy flow. Solid-state batteries replace that flammable liquid with a thin, solid material. This is a game changer. It allows you to use more powerful materials, like pure lithium metal for the anode, which dramatically increases energy density. More energy in the same space means more range. Simple. But here's the trade-off. Pushing for maximum energy density is like stretching a rubber band. You can stretch it really far once, but do it 1,000 times and it's going to snap. High-energy anodes can form tiny, destructive metal spikes called dendrites. They can puncture the solid electrolyte, causing the battery to fail. Or, if you use a silicon anode, it can swell up to 300% while charging. Imagine a sponge swelling to 3 times its size and then shrinking back down hundreds of times. Eventually, it just falls apart. This is what's happening inside the battery at a microscopic level, destroying its lifespan. And even if you solve the science, you have to build it. Solid-state manufacturing is brutally complex. We're talking about baking materials at over 1,000 degrees Celsius in perfectly moisture-free environments. Right now, it costs 5 to 10 times more than a standard battery. But let's pause and ask the most important question. Do we even need a 1,000-kilometer car? The data is clear. The average EV driver in the US travels less than 70 kilometers per day. Over 95% of all car journeys are easily covered by the 400 to 600-kilometer range of today's good EVs. Building a 1,000-kilometer battery isn't free. It adds hundreds of kilograms of weight. That extra mass makes the car less efficient, requiring even more energy to move. It drives up the cost, and it means longer charging times. It's like carrying a giant heavy backpack full of water for a short walk around the block. It's just wasting energy to carry more energy. This is why the 1,000-kilometer EV is a myth. Not because it's impossible, but because it's the wrong goal. The true revolution of solid-state technology isn't about absurdly long range. It's about efficiency. Instead of a 1,000-kilometer EV, solid-state will give us a standard 500-kilometer EV that is lighter, more spacious, and thousands of dollars cheaper. It's about charging. Because solid-state batteries are far more stable, they can handle ultra-fast charging without the risk of fire. Imagine getting 400 kilometers of range in the time it takes to grab a coffee. That solves range anxiety better than a giant battery ever could. It's about longevity. These batteries could last for over 1 million miles, making EVs last longer and retaining more value. The future of electric cars isn't about building a vehicle for that one hypothetical road trip you might take. It's about building a better, cheaper, safer, and more sustainable car for the 99% of trips you take every day. Solid-state batteries will get us there, but only when we stop chasing the wrong number. So the next time you see a headline about a 1,000-kilometer EV, ask yourself, is this progress or is it a very expensive distraction? The real future is far more practical and far more exciting.